I came across this story today as I was planning this video that perfectly describes the situation that this economy is in right now. Here's the starting sentence of this story. The headlines say inflation is easing, which is not true because it just went back up, and jobs remain strong, but consumers are skipping car payments. Just think about that for a minute right there. Supposedly everything is good, but people are skipping car payments. Why on earth would they be doing that? And that right there alone, that opening sentence of this story is exactly why you have to just kind of toss out all of the economic data that the Fed gives us and that the government gives us, because none of it is a real reflection of how people are living today. And it's not just people missing car payments either. Credit card delinquencies are on the rise. Student loan delinquencies are on the rise. Mortgage delinquencies are now on the rise as well. And so the reason why skipping car payments is particularly worrying is because when delinquencies rise for car payments, is because people will typically skip a lot of other payments before they will skip a car payment, because most people need their car for transportation to and from their job, picking their kids up from school, whatever, right? Most people live in a car dependent area where walking everywhere is just not an option, and public transit either takes too long or it's not practical. And so if people are missing their car payments, then they must be under some severe financial pressure right now. LendingTree is now reporting that 5.1% of Americans are delinquent on auto loans, with 2% being at least 30 days late and nearly 1% being over 90 days late. And that's a huge red flag for our economy. When we look at subprime auto delinquencies, those delinquencies have actually now surpassed the levels that we saw during 2009, and they're now at a 15-year high. So how can things possibly be worse than they were in 2009? I mean, everybody keeps saying things are great. Look at the stock markets at all-time highs. That definitely wasn't the case in 2009. Home prices were already falling dramatically as well back then. So what gives? Experience shows that 30-day delinquencies have jumped nearly 40% year over year in the lowest credit tier, which is people that had the lowest credit scores. And even prime borrowers are falling behind, and that alone tells you this isn't confined to just the fringes of the market anymore. The Fed reports that auto loan balances have crossed $1.6 trillion, with average monthly payments hitting a record $750. It's no wonder people are missing these payments, because these payments have become unaffordable. People thought they could afford it at the time when they got the car, but then their car insurance went up and other expenses related to life have gone up. Housing expenses have gone up all during the same time frame. So it puts people in a position where you have to choose which bills to pay. And also something that's severely impacting the auto market right now is you have a lot of people that took out car loans, say 2 or 3 years ago, and are now underwater on their car payments, meaning that they owe more on their car than what it's actually worth, because prices for used cars have come down dramatically over the past couple of years, and the new car prices are still fairly high. So if you bought at a very high price and then the price of that car came down a lot, well, you just lost a ton of equity in that vehicle within just the first 2 or 3 years. And so this indicates when people start missing car payments that they're already making big financial sacrifices and trade-offs in order to make things work. People stop making car payments when the math just no longer adds up for them, when they simply just don't have enough money anymore at the end of each month to make all of their payments. And this is how all this starts to snowball. You know, people start missing a credit card payment here and there, or a utility bill payment here and there. Then it's the car loan, and then it's the mortgage or the rent. Guys, this is how this shapes up, and it's starting to show in the data. Wow, look at this orange tree. So beautiful and abundant with lots of fruit. I would go as far to say that when somebody misses a car payment, that they probably have already missed some credit card payments. They're probably already facing maybe a utility shutoff notice because they're missing some of their utility bills. And they could be even facing an eviction notice very soon, or a potential foreclosure. And that's the problem with economic news in general, is that by the time you start hearing all of this from the mainstream media, it is too late. It's already happening and it's already impacting too many people. And by the time you hear it from them, you know it's something that's been a problem that's been brewing for quite a long time and is only just now coming to the surface and boiling over to the point where they have to talk about it now. And this doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is just completely going broke overnight, but what it does mean is that a lot of people are hitting financial trouble right now. And these missed car payments are a huge warning sign, because auto delinquencies aren't just about missing payments, they're about shifting priorities under stress. People have to choose what to pay for when there's only so much money to go around. And the worst part is people shouldn't even be finding themselves in this situation, because if you have a $750 a month car payment, you should be driving a $5,000 beater that was paid in full in cash. You know, that's the reality that people don't want to look at either. And then you might say, well, Michael, it's really hard to find a used car for, $5,000 or less. Well, there are plenty of them out there. People just don't want to drive those cars is what the main problem is. People refuse to look at that because it's like, this is going to make me look bad. I'm not going to look cool. What is everybody else going to think of me if I'm driving this piece of crap? It's like your car is part of your self-image, right? And I get it too, because I like driving a nice car also, guys. We're all guilty of this. Everybody wants to have a nice car. Nobody wants to be the one driving the piece of crap. But if you want a somewhat newer car, like 3 years old or less, trying to find anything that's less than $20,000 these days is almost impossible. An analyst with the company named IC Cars, Carl Brower, he did an interview talking about the price of used cars, and it is pretty stunning when you look at it. He says the price of used cars was going down steadily the last couple of years, but over the past few months, they've started to go up again. In February this year, the average list price for a car that was 1 to 5 years old used was $31,257, which is up 1% from 1 year earlier. And in June, the price went up to $32,437, which is a 4.8% jump from just 1 year ago. And of course, that's still cheaper than buying a brand new car, where the average retail price of a new car is over $50,000. In 2019, 52.2% of 3-year-old used car inventory was priced $20,000 or less. And today, only 13% of the used car inventory consists of 3-year-old cars priced $20,000 or less. And this data shows that the best-selling 3-year-old used models are virtually no longer available for under $20,000. Cars like the Chevy Equinox, Honda Civic, Kia Sportage, Nissan Rogue, Toyota Camry, and Toyota Corolla. In 2019, you could buy about 98% of the 3-year-old Honda Civics on the market for about $20,000, and today, only 5.7% of the 3-year-old Honda Civics are available at that $20,000 price point. The rest are all more expensive. Toyota Corolla, you could buy 100% of those cars at $20,000 if they were 3 years old or less in 2019. Now it's only about 63% of those cars. And passenger cars have seen the biggest price increase since 2019, up 48.7%, and prices for used pickups have gone up about 29%, and used SUV prices are up 15.4% since 2019. So what are people supposed to do? Well, like I said a little while ago, I think if you're struggling and you need something just to get back and forth to work and you need transportation, buy that cheap $5,000 car for cash. That's what most people should do if you're hurting. But if you do have somewhat of a budget, but you don't want to break the bank, what are your options? Well, you have to buy an older car with higher mileage, guys. That's pretty much where most people stand right now, and it's not what people want to hear. You used to be able to buy a 3-year-old car with 32,000 miles on it for 20 grand. Now that $20,000 is only going to buy you a 6-year-old car with 71,000 miles on it. I mean, that's the reality. One thing I'm sure is going to be a point of contention here in this story is they say that the good news is, though, is that cars are built better today, so the older used models with higher mileage will last longer than older vehicles. I mean, that's something that's really up for debate. Some people totally believe that and think that is 100% the case. Others will say that cars are just like everything else. They don't make them like they used to, and everything they build today is total garbage. A lot of people used to say that once a car hits 100,000 miles, then it's pretty much ready for the junkyard. Now they're saying at least 200 to 250,000 miles on newer cars is kind of like the limit of where they're kind of reaching their end of life cycle. So if you are in the market for a used car, you need to make sure you're doing the research. Make sure that you are checking places like Edmunds or Kelley Blue Book for the proper value of the car. And it's really important to be flexible, especially the smaller your budget is. You need to be open to different models, different vehicles, different price points in order to find something that's going to fit your budget the best and be in the best condition and probably be the most reliable and last you the longest. Something else that you should definitely do is get a pre-purchase inspection. If you buy a car privately or even through a dealership, pay a mechanic $200 to check out the car and give you the green light, tell you whether or not the car is worth buying. Just kind of like getting an inspection when you buy a house. Also, you should be willing to go outside of your home market to find a good deal. If you can find a car within like a 12-hour drive of where you live, I know that sounds kind of far, but you'd be surprised at the deals that are out there and the options that will open up in order to get the model you're looking for to find the best deal. And according to this guy Brower, he says that prices on used cars probably aren't going to come down much more than what we've already seen, especially since they're starting to go back up right now. I don't know. I'm not a car expert, but like I said, if you're struggling, I think you should just be buying the cheapest car you can get, pay cash for it, not have a payment, and drive it till the wheels fall off. That's the only way you're going to be able to get ahead financially, rather than paying, $500, $600, $700 a month in a car payment. And the last thing that he says to do is demand a printout of the Carfax from the dealership and then get one on your own if you're buying it privately. And I have a little story to share on that as well, because something that was sent to me a little while ago from one of my viewers was a story about a Carfax scam. And I have never heard of this before, but it's something that you should know about if you're planning on buying a used car and you need to get a Carfax. There was a woman in Pennsylvania who was scammed out of $45,000 because there were criminals who created a fake dealership website copying legitimate listings from real dealership websites, and she got the Carfax on it, and she was going to pay $46,000 for this car. She talked to the supposed dealership, and after she sent the money, she wired the money to the dealership. Surprise, surprise, the car never arrived. And it turns out there were other victims who were involved in this that actually got scammed out of buying that same Lexus. Everybody thought they were buying this same car, and you had this illegitimate dealership collecting money for the purchase of this car, but never actually existing. So criminals can actually build fake websites and clone real vehicle listings and post them on legitimate car sites like Carfax.com, for example. So the point of this story is that sometimes you can't even trust something like Carfax to be legitimate, because even on Carfax's own website, they had fake dealership listings on there that, of course, have now been removed, but they don't really vet people. All these websites that are brokers and dealers, just like Amazon and eBay and all these places, they let just about any Yahoo sell products on their websites because they earn money from it. They charge people a commission. They get a percentage of all the sales that are happening on these websites. So it's in their best interest to have more the merrier. The more people that are selling anything, then that's good for them. It's good for business. So these websites have no incentive to crack down on the bad behavior of these people. And the worst part is this person's just out the money, guys. She lost 45 grand. She wired it to the fake dealership. She's not getting it back. It's under investigation from the FBI and the local police. But you know how these things turn out. It's probably going to be an ongoing investigation for years with nothing to show for in the end. Now, another thing that's happening in the car market right now is Tesla has had nothing but trouble since they launched the Cybertruck. The launch was pitiful, and the demand for the vehicle has been low since day one, and they have had lots of problems with these vehicles. They've even burned people alive up to this day. And now Tesla is making their most aggressive and desperate move to try to save the Cybertruck. And so what they're doing is they're adding their Cybertruck to a massive sales event, and they're offering a huge incentive if you were to buy this, which is a free transfer of its $12,000 self-driving software. So this is a huge concession that Tesla is making, and it's a desperate cry for help. And it shows you that they're willing to sacrifice a big part of their revenue in order to get more of these Cybertrucks sold and on the road. So basically, this allows existing Tesla owners to transfer their already purchased full self-driving software to a Cybertruck if they were to purchase one. So you don't have to buy the software again. And for all these years, the full self-driving software was locked to the vehicle and not the owner. So now Tesla is changing that. Everything can be changed with a flick of a button when you're talking software and computers and cars. And Tesla has to hurry up and get as many vehicles out the door before September 30th, just like all the rest of the EV car companies, because that's when the $7,500 EV tax credit expires. Although we are going to have the $10,000 interest deduction for people who buy brand new cars moving forward. So you could buy any car, it doesn't have to be an EV. And obviously the numbers show that most people choose to buy a gas-powered car still to this day rather than EVs. And that's why they have to hurry up and try to get as many of these sold as possible while all the incentives are still there. But the problem with this sale tactic is that this only really targets people who already own a Tesla. So if they're kind of alienating new Tesla owners that might be interested in buying one of these Cybertrucks. And when you look at the sales numbers, it's not very good for Tesla. In the second quarter of 2025, Tesla sold only 4,300 Cybertrucks, which is down almost 51% from the 8,755 units it delivered during the same period last year, according to Kelley Blue Book. But even Tesla's not immune to solving their long-term problems with short-term band-aids, guys. That's what all this is, because really, it's just going to create maybe a small little extra bump in demand from existing Tesla owners who have the dough to fork over to actually go out and buy one of these vehicles right now and separate with the car that they already have. And one other thing that's happening that I want to bring up real quick is last week, FedEx announced that they're going to be forced to close some of its facilities, and they're going to be losing about another 500 people. This is just one of the latest layoff notices from a very large and successful company in America. FedEx said that they're going to be closing their package distribution stations in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Omaha, Nebraska. They're also going to be eliminating 84 positions at a facility that they have in Des Moines, Iowa. And they're getting rid of an extra 130 people at a facility they have in Garland and Plano, Texas. And FedEx, why are they doing this? Well, the same reason that every other company is doing things right now, to improve efficiency and increase profitability. That's the reason they always do stuff like this. And they're pulling a Walmart here, saying that many of their FedEx workers are going to be offered other roles within the company, but it could require them to commute long distances or relocate. Sounds super enticing, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want to do that? And FedEx even says that they plan on closing 30% of its parcel terminals within the next 2 years. So consolidation, AI, and profitability are coming for your job, guys, in 2025 and beyond. You best believe it. Don't be in denial about this. Try to be one step ahead of the curve. Just look at what's happening all over the economy with people not paying their bills, people not paying their car loans. It's not looking good. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.